Come brothers, fill all the gaps. Inshallah, try to sit as close together as possible. Inshallah, if we listen in the correct manner, Allah Ta'ala will give us the tawfiq to practice. Come brothers. A lot of space here, brothers. I think it's your aftershave, Salim bhai. Or lack of it. Come brothers, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi al-anfus wa min sayyiatil a'mal. Man yahdihillahu subhanahu wa ta'ala fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا وكريمنا وسندنا وأولانا ومولانا وهادينا وطبيب قلوبنا وقرة عيننا ونور أبصارنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرواحنا وأرواح آبائنا وأمهاتنا فداه صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذرياته وأهل بيته وأولاده وعترته وأصحابه وأنصاره وأصهاره وأشياعه وأتباعه وأحبابه ومحبيه وأمته وعلى كل من تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وعلينا معهم أجمعين. أما بعد. Respected elders, brothers and friends, we come here every week not to listen to gain knowledge. To gain knowledge, we must be going to other places, we must be going to ulama kiram. Here we come to create a mindset, to bring home some truths and to rid our hearts of some fallacies, to convince our hearts of some truths which Allah Ta'ala sent down and some fallacies which exist in the world. This is why we listen to the talks of deen again and again. And a person who listens with talab, with a motivation, with an eagerness, with a hunger, with due reverence, with the correct adab, Allah Ta'ala slowly but surely will penetrate those truths into his heart and those fallacies will leave him. One of the truths of which we have to convince our hearts, it's there in the mind, but it has to be in the heart, and that is that this life is temporary. We're all going to go. We're all musafir. We've all come with a transit visa from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when it expires, only Allah ta'ala knows. And we will all die. Once upon a time in the past, none of us were here. Once upon a time in the future, none of us will be here. And right now we are sitting once upon an opportunity. What is life? Life is an opportunity to prepare for the life of the hereafter. And this life is very short. Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam was given the longest life of any human being. He lived for over 1,000 years. When he was on his deathbed, an angel came to him and asked him, Ya Nabi Allah, kaifa wajadta dunya? O Prophet of Allah, you've lived on earth for the longest period. According to many ulama, he witnessed many generations come and go before him. He knew them, he knew their dads, he knew their granddads, he knew their great-great-granddads. So how did you find the life of this world? So Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam said, a lesson for all of us. He said, my life of this world to me seems like there's a house, there's a front door and there's a back door. I entered from the front door, I walked through the house and I'm exiting from the back door. This is how short my life is. One of the Urdu poets, he said, Aaye to hui azan, chale to hui namaz, itne qaleel waqt mein insan bhala kya kare? When we came into this world, the azan was given in our ears. And for our 5 times namaz, we have azan. But for janazah namaz, there's no azan. Why not? Because the azan was already given. That's a lesson for us, that your life is like the space between azan and namaz, which is about 15 minutes in our masjids. And if it's maghrib, then it's a few minutes. That's the reality of this life. But we are living our lives, जी ऐसा लगाया जीने में, मरने को मुसलमान भूल गया. Ha ha, he, picnic party, samosa, chaat, masala dosa, holiday, picnic, like we're never going to die. Sayyidina Dawood alayhi salam met Malakul Maut and he said to him, I've got a bone to pick with you. There's a complaint from people. He said, what's that? He said, anyone in the world, if they're going to come, if there's a big occasion, a wedding or something, people warn you, they tell you, they send notices. You got an appointment coming up, they send you a letter, they send you a reminder. You don't send any warnings. Achanak aa dhamakta hai. All of a sudden you just turn up on our doorstep. And naqat tashkil, you take us. So Malakul Maut said, no, that's not true. The number of warnings and notices that I send, nobody sends. He said, we haven't received any. He said, your birth was a notice from me. You've been born, you're going to die. You're going from infancy into childhood, was a warning from me. From childhood into your teenage years, into your adulthood. The pain in your knees, the pain in your back, your hair's turning white, you getting married, you having kids. Every day, every week, every month, every year was a warning from me. But what can I do if you do not take heed? If you don't take a lesson? You hear all these stories, especially in the last few years, so many sudden deaths, so many people dying in their prime. And yet we think, I go to the gym, I'm a gym bro. I take my vitamins. I eat healthily, I don't smoke. I'm going to live to a ripe old age. Out of every millions, there's a centenarian, a person who lives to 100. But every one of us sitting here is thinking, it's going to be me. But the reality is, our time is running out. And the other reality, respected brothers, is that dunya by its nature is treacherous. And people are treacherous and selfish. And when we go, people will forget us. So many people will receive the message and they'll say, I don't know him. Who's this Osman Kazee? I don't know him. Our neediest and deediest will remember us, but not forever. And don't think they're going to pray a whole Quran every day and send to me. I said to somebody that if you can't be bothered to pray one sipara every day for your own akhirat, how can you expect other people to pray for you and send to you? One person was dying. So his wife, his kids, his mom, dad around him, and they're all crying. So he felt good. Because people like to be appreciated. People likes, oh, I got another like. I got another follower. I got a thumbs up. So he felt good that, in this day and age, people are so hungry for love and attention and affection and recognition. People fake their own deaths and go and hide in the trees with cameras, looking who's crying in my janazah. This has happened. So he saw that, mashallah, they're all crying, so he felt good. I'll be sorely missed. Then he thought that, let me listen in. What merits of mine are they extolling? Are they mentioning? What are they going to miss me for? So he listened in on his dad. So his dad's crying. I said, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, my puttar is dying. Who's going to take me to the masjid now? Who's going to take me for my appointments? Who's going to pay my bills? So this guy said, he's not actually crying for me, he's crying for himself. He listened in on his mom. His mom crying her eyes out, my son is dying. Who's going to take me for appointments? Who's going to do shopping? Who's going to take me to the takeaway now and to the restaurant? Who's going to take me to the gym to do my aerobics? So he said, listen in on his wife. His wife says, Ya Allah, please save him. How am I going to live my life on my own? The nights will become so long for me. How am I going to raise these kids without their father? What's going to happen to me? So she's crying for herself. The kids, same thing. Who's going to buy him an Xbox, PlayStation? So then he said to them, he said, sit me up. So they sat him up, and with the last bit of energy he had left in him, he said, Bhai, you're all crying, but you're all crying for yourselves. Koi to mere liye ro. Somebody at least cry for me. So the father, in between tears, he said, Beta, ye dunya hai. This is dunya. Everyone's in it for themselves. Everyone is looking after themselves. That's the nature of the dunya. An Urdu poet said, कौन देता है जिंदगी पर का सहारा ए दोस्त, इस्माइल भाई, कौन देता है जिंदगी भर का सहारा ए दोस्त। लोग तो जनाजे में भी खंदे बदलते रहते हैं। When they carry my coffin, nobody carries it all the way. Carries it for a few steps and hands it over. Nobody is willing to carry my burden. In the janaza, how are they going to carry my burden in life? But that's a reality that we have to convince our hearts of. This dunya is treacherous. We're going to leave the dunya. So, and we're all in it for ourselves. We have to make our own akhirat. I'm going to go in my own grave. My amals are going to help me. My bad deeds will become obstacles for me. What am I doing? This is why Allah Ta'ala says, if your wives and your children are becoming impediments in bettering your akhirat, they are your enemies. Don't go home and tell them that. But a person needs to assess himself. Am I allowing my wife to rob me of my akhirat? The wife must ask herself, am I allowing my husband to rob me of my akhirat? Harun Rashid, rahmatullahi, was a very pious king. And in his time there was a person by the name of Bahlul, known as Bahlul Majnoon. So you know, in this day and age, you get somebody, a professor, you call them nutty professors. People think they're mad. But because they're such geniuses, they're so absorbed in their thing. Sometimes you get poets like that as well, proper dooni. Because they're always, the mind's always working, and so they're unaware of what's going around them. So sometimes you get people who are so absorbed in the love of Allah that they're unmindful of everything. People consider them to be mad, but they're not mad. They're known as majzoob. So Bahlul was like that. He wasn't mad. He was lost in the love of Allah. He was actually very intelligent. But people call him Bahlul Majnoon. Kids used to taunt him and throw stones at him. And everyone just thought he's mad. So one day, Harun Rashid was going along in his carriage and he saw him. So he did salam to him and then he asked him for some advice. So he used to give very good advice. So Harun Rashid said to him, he had this walking stick, a really nice carved walking stick, a staff. He said, listen, let me give you this gift. So he said, for me? He said, yeah. He said, am I supposed to keep this? He goes, you keep it. But if you come across a bigger idiot than yourself, because he was considered to be mad, then give it to him. He said, okay. So then Bahlul used that stick, and many decades passed, and it was a forgotten thing. Then Harun Rashid fell ill. He was on his deathbed. Bahlul came to meet him with that staff. And he asked him, he said, oh king, you know, in the dunya when you used to go on a journey, you used to send your clothes, carriages of your clothes and food ahead of you. So now where are you going? So he goes, I'm going on a very long journey of the akhirah. He said, in the dunya when you used to send carriages forward, have you sent any carriages, anything, any provisions forward? He said, no. He said, in the dunya when you used to travel, you used to send armies ahead of you. Have you sent any armies ahead of you? He said, no. No provisions, no army, no preparation. He said, no. Now obviously Harun Rashid was saying that out of humility. So Bahlul said to him, he said, I've got a gift for you. And he handed him the staff. He said, what's this? He said, you gave me this many years ago and you said to me, if I find a bigger idiot than me, I must give it to him. So it seems you're the bigger idiot. In this day and age, a person who's absorbed in the dunya, making money, got the nice cars, nice house, he's considered intelligent. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's not intelligent. Al-Qayyisu man dana nafsah wa amila lima ba'd al-maut. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the truly intelligent person, people might think he's backward, he's Maulvi Sahib, he's Majnoon. But really he's an intelligent person. Why? Because he's preparing for the life of the hereafter, which is the ultimate life, the real life. So respected brothers, this is one of the truths that we have to bring into us. That we're going to leave this world and we're in it for ourselves. And nobody is going to remember us after we go. Nobody is going to help us. Our own actions are going to help us. And the other truth that we have to convince our hearts of is that Shaitan is our sworn enemy. We have two enemies. Before our elders, when we used to go out in the path of Allah, they used to say that you have come out, you 10, 11 brothers are going, but with you somebody else is also going. You're going abroad, you've got your passport and your visas, but they are coming without passport and visas. Two enemies. One enemy is an enemy within, and the other is an enemy outside. The enemy inside is nafs, and the enemy outside is shaitan. Now, then the elders started saying, when they realized that people are making so much sacrifice, going out in the path of Allah, still not spending their time well, they used to say, we've got 3 enemies. The third one is bad habits, sleeping too much, eating too much, talking too much, going outside. This is hindering your progress. Now our elders say there are 4 enemies. The mobile phone. People get upset when we say that, because it's become so endeared to people. People get upset when you talk about not taking mobile phone. But that's an impediment in our progress. Shaitan is our real enemy. فَاتَّخِذُوهُ عَدُوًا. Allah Ta'ala says, therefore consider him to be your enemy. But we have befriended him. And he is so clever that he can make a morsel of us within seconds. We're nothing in front of him. It's only with the fazl and the rahmat and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are protected and we are on our iman. Otherwise our iman he can snatch away, because he is so experienced. He's lived on the earth for Allah knows how long. And then he's lived in the heavens for hundreds of thousands of years. And he's worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's been the head of the angels. He's been in close proximity to Allah. And he's been around for a long time. He knows all the tricks. So we have to be aware of him. So there was a buzurg by the name of Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullahi. Sayyid al-Ta'ifa, a great saint. Once shaitan came to him in human form. And he sat down in front of him. So he welcomed him. Then he asked him, he said, who are you? He said, I'm the one who you pray la hawl upon. So Junaid Baghdadi took a step back. He said, don't pray la hawl, otherwise I'll have to run away. So Junaid Baghdadi said to him, he said, I've got a question for you actually. I was hoping I'd meet you. He said, what's your question? Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullah said to him that it is related about you that you worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for hundreds of thousands of years. He said, yes, that's true. It is related about you that there's not a space on earth or in the heavens in which you have not prostrated in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, yes, it's true. He said, when you have performed so many millions of sajdas in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why did you not perform that one sajda? Gaya mara shaitan ek sajde ke न करने में, अगर लाखों बरस sajde में सर मारा तो क्या मारा? He prostrated so much, but the one sajda that he was commanded to do, he didn't do, and that's why he was accursed. He said, well, you did so many sajdas. What was the problem in performing that one sajda? And listen to what shaitan, Iblis, replied. Allahu Akbar. How shrewd, how cunning is he? He said, Junaid, tu to sahib ilm hai. You are a man of knowledge. You know. खालिक के होते हुए मखलूक के सिजदा कैसा ज़ेबा है? खालिक के होते हुए मखलूक को सिजदा कैसे कर सकते हैं? If the creator, if Allah is present, how can you do sajda to a makhluk? Allahu Akbar. Answer that. He's right, isn't he? That Allah is present. How could I do sajda to Adam is a creation? Junaid Baghdadi narrates that when he gave me that answer, I was blown away. And I felt my iman slipping away from my heart. He said, Allah Ta'ala guided me. If it was not for the fadl of Allah, my iman would have left me. He put me in such a predicament, confused me so much. Allah Ta'ala then put the answer into my heart. And I said to him, oh Iblis, hukm Rab ko sajda karna, Rab hi ko sajda karna hai. Hukm Rab ko sajda karna, Rab hi ko sajda karna hai. To do sajda upon the command of Allah is in actual fact prostrating in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obedience. Then he said to him, he said, when we pray salat, somebody might say that you're praying, you're worshipping the Kaaba. Or if you're standing in the masjid and you've got a pillar in front of you, somebody may say you're idol worshipping. You're doing sajda to the idol. Or somebody sitting in front of you, you're doing sajda to him. So no, we're doing sajda because of the command of Allah. Our intention is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hukm Rab ko sajda karna, Rab hi ko sajda karna hai. Shaitan said, oh, you got me there. And he ran away. Allahu Akbar. So respected brothers and elders, these home truths we've got to bring into our hearts. And there are many other truths and many fallacies which we have to rid our hearts of in order to become good and true slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today, unfortunately, respected brothers and elders, we've drifted from this. Hasan Basri Rahmatullah used to say to his congregation, he lived within 100 years and his people lived within 100 years of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They saw that the Sahaba Kiram. He used to say to his congregation that if the Sahaba Kiram were to come out of their graves and see you people, they would consider you to be munafiqs and hypocrites. We need to ask ourselves, brothers, if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sahaba Kiram were to come see us Muslims and our lives, what would they think of us? What is our life now? Ha ha, he he, picnic party, shadi, holiday, chaat, masala dosa, halim, nihari. Once I went to a janaza. It was in a far place, so we had to stay there for a few days. So when we sat down to eat, I went with a buzurg, with an elder, and there were other people also from other towns. So we sat down to eat. Now this buzurg, he was a slow eater. He just sat there eating quietly. I ate and I finished, and then there were some sofas next to in the adjoining room. I went and sat there, and they all carried on talking, and this buzurg was eating, just listening. After they all finished, they all came and sat down. So this buzurg now is a da'i, an inviter, and a da'i is always looking for opportunities to invite. So then he said to them, he said, just now we were sitting, eating. What were we talking about? Although he wasn't talking. He said, Khane pe kya baatein ho rahi thi? So now they all carpet staring, all embarrassed. No one would answer. So then he prodded the person closest to him. He said, Batao, batao, what were we talking about? On the sakhan, whilst we're eating. So the person said quietly, we're talking about food. The whole of that conversation for about 20 minutes, half an hour, whilst we ate, was, have you tried that curry house? Have you tried that restaurant? Oh, come to our town, we got this steakhouse, we got that curry house, this, that. This is the whole thing, conversation. Then the buzurg said, देखो ये हमारा हाल है. खाने पे बैठे हैं और खाने की बात हो रही है. The Sahaba Kiram used to eat to live, just enough to survive. We live to eat. Maqsad of our life, gourmet burgers, outings, on the groups. You get a message, somebody posts, Hazrat Molana such and such is doing a bayan. There's a program in that masjid. I'm thinking of going. So the friends, the messages come. Go on then, Amen, 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 ting, ting, ting. Then the message comes. I'm not on any of the groups, but I know this is how it works. If you're honest, you know this is how it works. Then somebody comes, where we're going after that? So if I'm on the group, I would reply, we're going out in the path of Allah. Where do you think we're going? We've heard the talk of deen, what are we going to do? Time for action, go out in the path of Allah. Isn't it? But we all know what that message means. That means, let's go for a milkshake. Let's go for a burger. Let's go for chocolate, for ice cream. As if bahut bada teer mara hai. Let's treat ourselves. What have you done? You're going to treat yourself. So even when we're engaged in dini activities, it's still about food. This is what we've become. And because of that, we're so engaged in the dunya that we have forgotten our own responsibilities. Huwajtabakum, we are the chosen people by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala selected us to be from the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam so that we may engage in the effort of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But because we've given up that maqsad and made other things our priority, earning, decoration, person gets a bit of money in his pocket, let's decorate the house. Gets a bit more money, extension. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the worst kind of expenditure is on housing, if it's not a necessity, but it's just doing it for the sake of it, just to keep up with the Joneses. Terraced houses, in the middle of it, there's a house with a balcony. What are you thinking, bro? Terraced house, and he's got a julo in his living room, fills half the living room. You go in Gush, you get to see these things, isn't it? I went to one person's house, he had these lights in the skirting board. I'm looking, I've never seen that before. He said, what's up? And they change colours as well, they flash. Shall I turn them on? I said, please don't. I've not bought my sunglasses with me. But come on. But this is what we've become. And because we've swapped our maqsad, we were actually here to earn our livelihood as per necessity. And the money that we got, we were supposed to spend that for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People say, yeah, I give to charity. No, that's not enough. Alhamdulillah, that's very good. But how about going out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? A jamaat is being made. So people say, okay, yeah, inshallah, Amin. Yeah. Where's he going? So if it's something like France, Belgium, yeah, inshallah. Uzbekistan. Oh, how much is that going to be? About £2,000, you'll have to stay in hotels. Oh, I can't afford that. Why? Because our money is for dunya. So when we swapped our maqsad, what happened is Allah Ta'ala became displeased. And Allah Ta'ala then sends humiliation upon us. There was once a king and he had a golden eagle. Golden eagles are beautiful birds. When they open their wings, when they fly, the glory, magnificence, kings of the heavens. So, it had a duty. He used to go hunting with the king. But one day, so now because it's fulfilling its duty and it's living in the king's palace, therefore it's fed steaks, fresh steaks, the best of food, and it's looked after. One day, it decides to go walk about or fly about. He escapes. Now the king, he sends out search parties. It goes and lands on an old lady's balcony. So the old lady sees it and offers it some seeds. So it comes into the house. Now the old lady was in the habit of feeding pigeons and parrots. So she gets it into the house and she thinks that this is an overgrown parrot. So she starts stroking it and says, oh, bicharu, bicharu, nobody's looked after you. Look at your feathers, look at your wings, all overgrown. Look at your claws, your nails, all overgrown. Look at your beak. Who are you? Yeah, it's bent. So then she's now feeding it, giving it seeds and milk and everything. And she's filing its nose and cutting its claws. And she pruned its wings, clipped the feathers and everything. And then she said that, you're all grey. She painted it orange and green like parrots. So the search parties are going out everywhere. Eventually they found it in this old woman's house. So they caught it and they brought it back. And he was in a sorry state, haggard looking. An image of its former self. So everyone's really upset. Then they present it in front of the king. Colored, cropped, chipped, cut. So the king, he started laughing. And he said, it deserves it. It deserves it. So why? He said, this and anything and anyone that loses or gives up or vacates its prestigious position of honor, whatever ridicule and humiliation comes upon it, it deserves it. Our elders, they say the same is the example of the Muslim Ummah. We were the kings of the world. We were the leaders of the world. Not just in deen, in science and technology. When I was teaching here in Plaggate School, at that time they had exhibition in the Science and Industry Museum of Manchester. 1,001 inventions. The book is still available. 1,001 inventions. I asked, why did they call it that? They say that without exaggerations, the Muslims gave more than 1,001 things to the world. Of my year 7 class, I got them to make a list. They made lists of, they were small kids, but they made lists of 100, 200, 300 things that Muslims have given to the world. We were leaders of the world when we were fulfilling the purpose of our life. Whatever befell us and whatever is befalling us, it is not Allah's fault. It's our own fault. Why? Because we have given up our responsibility. Therefore, respected brothers and elders, we have to assess our lives and come back with tawbah. Repent over what has happened so far, what we've lost out on. Ya Allah, forgive me. I made the maqsad of my life career progression. हम क्या बताएं अहबाब क्या कारनामे कर गए. Akbar Ilhabadi said that, you know, working for a company or having a business or something, earning money, what's the big deal? What's the achievement there? हम क्या बताएं अहबाब क्या कारनामे कर गए. BA हुए, नौकर बने, pension मिली, फिर मर गए. He said, what can I tell you of my colleagues? What did they achieve in life? They graduated. They became employees. They gave 30 years of service. They got their pension. And they dropped dead and died. What a life. Hum kya bataye ahbab kya karname. What a karname is that? What achievement is that? But we, due to our foolishness, we've considered that the purpose of it. Yes, we've got to earn a living. We've got to make our businesses shine. We've got to be the best employees. But that is not the do-all and end-all of everything. There's a purpose beyond that. So, to make a U-turn, brothers, to make tawbah. Hasan Basri Rahmatullah again. Brothers who've got their phones out, humbly requested. You're only harming yourself. Nobody takes out their phone in doctor's surgery or in a lecture theatre or when the lawyer is talking to them. Why? Because you got respect for that person. Do we not have that much respect for the words of Allah and His Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? I always say in my bayans, by sitting here is not farz. Ask any mufti sahab. It's not farz to sit here, is it? Asr Salat was farz. Somebody went after that, so be it. Okay, he lost out on the reward or the benefit, but it's not farz to sit. But once I sit, it is farz, it is incumbent upon me that I listen in the correct manner. Because these are not the talks of dunya. They are the words of Allah and His Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And if I do not show reverence, Hafiz Sahib Rahmatullahi, when he used to come to sit to do a bayan, he used to spend 15 minutes, sometimes half an hour, sometimes a whole bayan. Kyun Harum bhai? Just on this. Ba-adab, ba-nasib, be-adab, be-nasib. Hame to baithna bhi nahi aaya. His whole bayan used to be about that. Why? Because the former generation, our elders, they knew that whatever they acquired through adab. One of our great Deobandi scholars, a mastermind, amazing scholar, somebody asked him, how did you acquire so much knowledge? He said, I did not acquire, Allah gave me. He said, how? He said, because from childhood, I can never remember touching any pamphlet, any kitab, even a paper, even a sheet that had the message of deen. I can never remember touching anything without wudu. What do we say? Quran, wuzu is for Quran. I can touch kitabs, Talimul Islam, Fazal Amal, I can touch that without wuzu. Yes, you can. But adab, he said, because of that adab, Allah Ta'ala endowed me, blessed me. This is why, brothers, we should make it a point. Either we don't sit, or if we sit in the correct manner. Or if the message is very, very important, then we excuse ourselves. So Hasan Basri, he had many students, and women also used to come and acquire knowledge from him, from behind a partition. So there was one student of his, one woman, her husband passed away, she only had one son. Then the son started going off track, got into bad company, peer pressure. Peer pressure leads to beer pressure, as they say. He started drinking. So the mother is crying that my only support, and now he's got into bad company, he's going to squander all our wealth. So she tried to explain to him, but he wasn't having any of it. So then she would go and tell Hasan Basri rahmatullah. Hasan Basri would summon him and advise him. But the person was so far gone, he started disrespecting Hasan Basri rahmatullah and not listening to him and disrespecting him. Eventually the person, he fell ill, terminally ill. He realized he's on his deathbed. So he was in and out of unconsciousness. When he came around, he said to his mom, he said, please mother, I know I've hurt you a lot, please forgive me. I have repented to Allah, I've made peace with Allah now. I knew I was wrong. I just have one request. Please can you go to your Shaykh Hasan Basri rahmatullah and ask him to perform my janazah namaz. That's the only hope I have from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now. So she went and she knocked on Hasan Basri rahmatullah's door. It was just after Zohar. He was just getting ready to go to sleep, Qailullah. So he asked who is it. He opened the door and then he spoke to her. She said that my son is requesting. So he said that no, I'm not going to lead his janazah namaz. He's troubled me too much, and more than that, he's hurt your heart too much. He doesn't deserve it. I'm not going to let it. Get someone else. So she went off and she told the son, and the son said, okay mother, if he's not going to do that, that's his choice. But what I want you to do is, after I die, I want you to tell the people to tie a rope around my ankles and my wrists and to drag me in the streets, so that it may be a lesson to other people that whoever disobeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is what he deserves. So the mother is crying, says, how can I do this? As this conversation is taking place, Hasan Basri rahmatullah comes upon them. And he says that I will perform his janazah namaz. So the mother asked, that what made you change your mind? So he said that when you came, requested me, I felt angry. I said no, but I was just getting ready to go to sleep. I fell asleep. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told me in my dream that, oh Hasan, I thought you were my friend. Why are you refusing to lead the janazah salat of my friend? Days ago he was the enemy of Allah. Now he has repented, he's become the friend of Allah. Why are you refusing to lead the janazah salat of my friend? This is what tawbah does to a person. You turn, Allah Ta'ala's doors are always open. So respected brothers and elders, this is why we come together. To reflect upon our lives, to reflect, if not upon our lives, just the past week, what have I done for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Kis liye aaye the, kya kar chale, tohmate chan apne sar pe dhar chale. What was the purpose of my life? What did I end up doing? And what am I? What am I boasting about? I think I'm invincible. I'm going to live forever. What am I boasting about? What is the reality of a human being? Hazrat Ali radiallahu used to say that what do you pride yourself over? Hazrat Ali radiallahu was a man of great knowledge and wisdom. Allahu Akbar. He said, oh human, what are you boasting over? You have exited two genitalia. तेरी हकीकत क्या है? तू दो शर्मगाहों से निकला है. Allah. First you came out from the genitalia of your father. Allah. Then you came out of the private parts of your mother. What are you boasting about? And that is the reality of the dunya. That's the reality of insan. And all the beautiful things we see around us, the reality of them is that they came from dust, they will return to dust. There was once, these stories are contained in our kitabs. That's why I am relating them. And they come in my heart. Our elders, they say, if you're delivering a talk and something comes in your heart as an amad, you must present it. But try to understand, and if you have any objections, see Ismail Bhai. There was once a person, a big buzurg. So, he had many disciples. There was a young lad. So he was his murid also. So the Sheikh used to give him spiritual instruction. Do this zikr, pray this wazifa, do this, do that. So the kid was really progressing. So in the khanqa of the Buzurg, they had some servants and some maids to serve the people because many people were coming. So there was a young girl. She was also a maid. So the Buzurg saw after some time this youngster who was now taking off. He was flying. Now he just crash landed. Sometimes you see it in Jamaat. But what happened to him? He was doing so well. Then you understand his friend came, joined the Jamaat after 20 days, and he bought his mobile phone for him from home. 20 days he was without his mobile phone, he was flying. Now he's got his mobile phone. Disaster, crash bang. So the Buzurg is like, what's happened to him? The Buzurg's making inquiries and everything. Then he realized that the youngster had fallen in love with the maid. So the Buzurg said, oh, aankhein mil gayi hai. The Romeo has found his Juliet. Now he can't concentrate on his zikr. He can't concentrate on his tilawat. He's seen her now, that picture is going around in his head. He's painting a love story in his mind. He wants to be the knight in shining armor. He's cooking up all these stories. The youngsters are smiling because you know what I'm talking about. It happens. Just one glance for a few seconds and days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months of torment. This is why we are instructed, lower your gaze. It's for your own safety. It's for your own benefit. So the Buzurg, he was also a Hakim. He was also a doctor. So what he did was he said to the girl, he called her behind the parda and he said to her that how long have you been in my household? So she said, I've been many years here. Are you happy? She said, Hazrat, I'm so happy. You really look after me. Your wife looks after me. I wouldn't want to change it for the world. Do you trust me? Absolutely, I trust you with my life. So I said, okay, I'm going to give you some medicine. And it's going to have adverse effect, laxative properties. You're going to be ill. And what I want you to do is, when you get diarrhea, I want you, in those days, you didn't have flush toilets, so I want you to use a particular toilet. In those, under the toilets, he used to have pans, metal boxes, and then they would go and empty them. So that he told her, said, go and use that toilet only. Told everyone else not to use that toilet. She is only to use that toilet. So she goes, okay, Hazrat, I trust you. He said, don't worry, I've got the antidote for it as well. I've got the cure. So you're not going to die or anything. It's just going to be a few days of hardship. But perhaps we can save this youngster. She agreed. She was also very pious. So she started taking these. Now she's got diarrhea. She's running 6, 7, 10 times in the daytime. And because of this, she gets emaciated, starts going thin, and becomes taunt, and loses her beauty and the glow of her skin and everything, and her cheekbones go in, and her skin starts going dark and everything. And in the meantime, the Buzurg had told her that you are not to come to serve us food. You're to stay in the women's quarters. So now the Romeo is going around saying, where's my Juliet? He's not seen her for so many days. And now he's getting sick. Then, after some time, the Buzurg said to the girl, when she lost all her thing, then he called her. He said, okay. Then he made her sit there. And then he called the Romeo. He said, come. And he told the other servants, he said, you know, from that toilet, bring the pan. Cover it up. So now the Buzurg said to the boy that, you know, you were doing so well, you were flying, you were progressing so much, mashallah. But then something happened to you. I couldn't understand. But now, then I understood. You've fallen in love with this girl. He said, Hazrat, it's true. And you want to marry her? I can arrange it. He said, yes, please. I said, okay, I've arranged a meeting for you. Here she is. You can meet her. You can talk to her. Really, Hazrat? Yeah. So she had a parda niqab on. So the Hazrat said to the girl, Apna niqab uthao. So he was expecting, when she lifts the veil, there will be a full moon, isn't it? But instead, it was a dark night. When she opened it, she looked like an old woman. Taunt, black skin, lost her vigor and her vitality and the glow of her skin and everything. And he looked at her, he said, the boy who's repulsed, he said, what's happened to you? So the Hazrat said, this is a girl that you love? He said, no, I don't, take her away, she's so ugly. She said, no, you love her. I'll get you married, chalo khutbah parate hain. Do you accept? No, I don't accept. So the Hazrat said, here, you see that thing? Lift the cover up. The boy said, what's happened to your beauty? He said, lift that up. So he lifted it up, and there was a pool of feces, a stench coming off it. He said, what's this? He said, this is a beauty that you fell in love with. That's what it is. That's the reality of the dunya. Allahu Akbar. So then the boy understood. Hazrat, I do tawbah. This is the reality of the dunya. And he did tawbah, and then the Buzurg cured her, and then mashallah she continued progressing. He continued progressing as well. So back in the days, this is how the spiritual guides used to guide people. Alhamdulillah, Allah Ta'ala has given us this beautiful effort in which we can also be guided and make progression. Otherwise, I'll end with this. Hazrat Molana Umar Palampuri Sahib Rahmate used to say, Allahu Akbar. अगर दीन पे नहीं आए तो जिंदगी जानवर की तरह हो जाएगी. If we do not come onto the purpose of our life will become like the life of an animal. इसे 40 साल तक गधे की तरह मेहनत करेगा. For 40 years he will work like a donkey, break his back, building up his business, hoping that his sons will take over. Now his sons have come of age. Now he thinks he can take a back seat. So he hands the business to his kids, thinking, I don't have to wake up at 4 o'clock now. Come what may, each day, any day I will have to wake up 4 o'clock. Now my kids will open the shop and I can stroll in at 11 o'clock. So he hands it over to the sons. But as our elders they say, ek hai aap kamai aur ek hai baap kamai. One is that which you have earned, which you have made effort for, like the father had, so he had a value for it. And the other is baap kamai, the father's money. So the kids didn't have the value for it, so they're rude to the customers, they're opening late, he's making a loss. Every time he comes into the shop, the guys are on their phones and this and that. And the customers are running low and the profits are even lower. So now what does he do? Now he starts barking at them. 40 साल तक गधे की तरह मेहनत की, 10 साल तक कुत्ते की तरह भौंकता रहा. Now he's shouting at them. Don't you know anything? You don't do this. You don't get from that wholesaler. You go to this guy. Look at the pennies. You got to save the pennies. And all this. He's barking at them. When he goes home, he barks at his wife. Like it's all her fault. What kind of kids have you brought up? They're good for nothing. They're ruining my business. And it's because he's angry, he's frustrated, his blood pressure is going up. He's barking at his daughters, his daughter-in-laws and everything. And his sons all the time. So 10 साल तक कुत्ते की तरह भौंकता रहा. After some time, the wife and the sons and the daughters, daughter-in-laws, they form an alliance. They come together. This Baba, we've had enough of him. We're going to give him an ultimatum. Hey, चुपचाप बैठा रह, वरना घर से निकाल देंगे. Leave a few brochures for old people's home lying around in the house. Like somebody said, be nice to your kids, for they will choose your nursing home. Allah forbid. These are all exceptions to the rule if there is no deen in the life. All these things that I've mentioned is when there's no deen, then these things happen. And they are happening. In Muslims now, not just in non-Muslims. Before it was in the non-Muslims, and our people used to laugh. And we used to be astonished. Look at these, look at their wives, look at their daughters, how loose their women are. Look at what stupid lives they have. But now it's coming to us. Why? Because we've forsaken the maqsad of our life. So they all turn on him. They said, listen, if you carry on like this, we're going to chuck you out. So now he can't say anything. He's zipped, but he just sits there watching, like an owl. An owl with big eyes, he looks all around. 40 साल तक गधे की तरह मेहनत करता रहा, 10 साल तक कुत्ते की तरह भौंकता रहा, अब 10 साल मौत तक उल्लू की तरह बैठा देखता रहेगा, कुछ कह नहीं सकता. I heard that from Molana Umar Palampuri Sahib Rahmate myself in the 94 Ijtima. And if you assess people's lives, this is what it is. And then क्या हुआ? BA हुए, पेंशन नौकर बने, पेंशन मिली, फिर मर गए. Progressed in the career, in the business, made the business shine, retired. When he retired, they gave him a watch, and then he lived a few years, and then he died. What a wasted life. That's why somebody said, as a dua to somebody, may you live every day of your life. May you live every day of your life. Life is for living. But we will live our lives truly when we will fulfill the purpose of our life. This is why we come together. This is the maqsad of our ijtima, that we reassess ourselves, we reset ourselves, we come back onto the purpose of our life. Otherwise, final thing, otherwise, Akbar Ilhabadi Rahmatullah also said, Mr. Naqli ko uqba mein saza kaisi mili? The person who was a copycat, who copied the people of the world. You know, people say, Masa, the whole world's doing it. It doesn't matter who's doing it. They are not our ideals. Our ideals are Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Sahaba Kiram. They didn't do it, we won't do it. Don't look at the people of the world. Why? When the blind follow the blind, all shall fall in the ditch. That's what's happening now. So, Mr. Copycat, Mr. Gentleman, suit, boot and tie. Akbar Ilhabadi Rahmatullah said, Mr. Naqli ko uqba mein saza kaisi mili? Sharah uski na munasib hai, mili jaisi bhi mili. What kind of a punishment did Mr. Gentleman, Mr. Copycat, who followed the ways of the world and the people of the world, what kind of a punishment did he get in the hereafter? He said, I can't elaborate on it. It's too heart-wrenching. I can't tell you about it. उसने भी अदब से कर दिया ये इल्तिमास, चारा ही क्या था ए खुदा, तालीम ही ऐसी मिली. He said, he begged in front of Allah Subhanahu, Allah, what else could I have done? This is what I was taught. This is what I was programmed from a young age. My parents taught me this in school, in college, in university. This is what I was taught. Success is in dunya, success is in wealth, success is in power, success is in dunya. So I just chased the dunya. This is what I was taught. And in Tabligh, we're taught a different lesson. The lesson of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that Allah Ta'ala sent down. So in order to learn that lesson, we need to go out in the path of Allah. So come brothers, give your names inshallah.